On today's show, first big trade of the offseason. Well, that's happened. Plus, a pivotal Game 5 of the NBA Finals to look forward to. That's all straight ahead on today's edition of Locked On NBA Game Night.
When that final buzzer rings, you know it's time for Locked On NBA Game Night. All the post-game reactions to every game across the league, every single night, with insights only the hosts at Locked On can provide. It's the true NBA fans' one stop for all the action. Every game, every night. It's Locked On NBA Game Night. Tipping off now.
What's up, everybody? I'm Danny Cunningham from Locked On Cavs. He's Swipa from Locked On Nuggets. And, of course, the big trade we were all waiting for has finally happened. Desmond Bane, now a member of the Orlando Magic. Initial reaction, Swipa, when you heard the news?
Well, I think everybody's, initial surprise was that a trade got done, period, at this time of year, especially at one of this magnitude. Desmond Bane, obviously, he has been a stalwart, I think would be the answer for what the Memphis Grizzlies are organizationally. He's been an adult in the room. He's been a really good player, all-star caliber player, somebody that does a lot of really good things for the team. I think that, I was just more shocked that the nature of the trade. I definitely will get into the details here. I definitely understand from Orlando's side what they're looking at when they're looking at Desmond Bane, how they feel like he would help their team. But then I saw they got back KCP, Cole Anthony. That initial part, I was like, salary fillers. Obviously, KCP still had potentially to be a good player. But then you see 4 unprotected first-round picks in one pick slot. So I think that's where a lot of people had a little bit of pause about the deal. They're like, that's an awful lot of picks for Desmond Bane. But Danny, if you remember, the Atlanta Hawks, when they originally traded for DeJounte Murray, they did so for Danilo Gallinari and 3 unprotected firsts. And that was for a player, I think, that wasn't as good as Desmond Bane, nor as accomplished. Then you get the Mikal Bridges trade that include 5 first-round picks as well. So overall, I think they got really good value for a player of that caliber. And this can go 2 ways for me, Danny. This could be a lead up to a bigger swing. Now they have more assets to utilize, or they could just simply say, we have role players we're plugging in around our 2 stars and Ja Morant and JJJ. We're following the new CBA, which is 2 stars making 40 mil or above. And everybody else, Danny, you're making literally 25 or less. And that's how we're going to build our team. So overall, I thought it was a really good haul for both teams.
Yeah, it'll be very interesting to break down because I think there are a lot of different ways that you can look at this. But thank you for looking at us or listening at us for your first listen today and every day. You can find us anywhere you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, anywhere else. And if you're watching on YouTube, as we get started here, do us a favor. Hit that thumbs up button for us, click subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss the latest from us in today's episode. Of course, brought to you by FanDuel, because right now new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. It's $200 in bonus bets when that first $5 bet wins. So like you said, Cole Anthony, Kentavious, Caldwell-Pope, 4 unprotected first-round picks. And I do think the framing of that does need to be mentioned, because one of those unprotected first-round picks is not really an unprotected first-round pick. It's just the 16th pick in the draft that's going to happen in a couple of weeks. So it's not as if that pick has potential to be a really good pick. It's a fine pick, but it's not as if, that could be the top pick in the draft. I think the real prize asset-wise is the pick from the Phoenix Suns a year from now in the 2026 draft. So I do think how we talk about that is certainly something that's important. But initially, when I thought about this trade from the Orlando perspective, not about what they gave up, but about how this team looks, because I really like Paolo Banchero. I think Franz Wagner is a really good player. I'd like to see that hitch in his jump shot not be there anymore. I think Jalen Suggs is a solid player. Obviously, I think Desmond Bane is very good, but I still come out of this having the same question about the Orlando Magic that I did 24 hours ago, which is, how are they going to get to the next level offensively? Because I think that team, more than any other team in basketball right now, needs a good point guard on the floor. And this trade doesn't get them that. And I think this trade might make it more difficult for them to get that moving forward. So while I like it in some senses, in another sense, it's like, I don't know that they addressed their biggest need, and I don't know how they will now.
It's interesting you say that, because just give you the profile for Desmond Bane in the first segment. So Desmond Bane is listed at 6'5". He's probably about 6'4.5". Doesn't have the longest arms. Desmond Bane has 4 more years remaining on his deal. And let me give you the contract numbers for that, Danny. He's 26 years old right now. He'll be 27 going into this next season, making 36.7 next year, 39.4 the year after, 42.1 the year after that. And then in the last year of the deal, when he turns 30, $44.8 million a year. Just for context, Jamal Murray is making $52 million a year over the next 4 years. And you can make an argument that Desmond Bane is a better basketball player in many circles than a player like Jamal, given the defensive versatility. Also, Orlando Magic fans, if you haven't got a chance to kind of check into his overall player profile, if you just look at Desmond Bane on Basketball Index, Danny, and just kind of look at some of the things he does really well. He's a good finisher around the rim. He's a very good three-point shooter. He's a good off-ball shooter. He actually grades out really well, like on how often he's willing to move and shoot off the ball. One-on-one, he grades out as a good isolation player as well. He doesn't do like a lot of great things, but he can score in a one-on-one setting. Perimeter shooting, he grades out as an overall A. He's one of the best in the business. He grades out in A- perimeter isolation defender. He's an A+ level off-ball chaser on the defensive end as well. He does have his things that he doesn't do super well. But Danny, considering the fact that he's replacing Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, and he's a better on-ball playmaker, and he's a better off-the-dribble shooter, creator than KCP. And I think if you add an accelerated next step for Jalen Suggs at the playmaking spot as the lead guard, having him and then having Desmond Bane with Franz, with Paolo, and then with Wendell Carter Jr. or Mo Wagner next year, or if they keep Goga, like they have actually, I think, a very, very strong starting five. Now, Danny, let me push this back in your corner. I can make an argument that this version of Paolo Banchero last year would have been an all-NBA player if he was healthy throughout the year, starting the year and ending the year, and then even including the playoffs. I can also make another argument that Franz Wagner is an all-star caliber player who put up all-star caliber numbers last year. So you have two under 25, I think, really good wings, to all-NBA to all-star wings, potentially. You have a true dynamic, maybe tier 1 defender at the guard spot in Jalen Suggs, who also is a good offensive player. And now you add Desmond Bane, who's one of the best two-way guards in the sport, who's a very, very, very good shooter, and probably you could say elite even. He's good in creation. He's good off the dribble. He's good in ISO. And you pair all that together, and basically your core is 26 and under, and you got 4 guys that if you need to, you could trade any one of them, especially on a contract like Desmond Bane and Jalen Suggs. Danny, I would say, look, if it doesn't work, okay, the best of our options that we are willing to move is Franz Wagner. What could we get for Franz Wagner 3 years from now, 2 years from now? I think they're actually in a really good position, Danny.
I think they're in a good position, but I think this might be where you and I maybe differ on things. I'm not super high on Jalen Suggs as an offensive player. And I think as we watch these playoffs in particular, part of the reason why Indiana has had so much success is, yes, the defensive pressure, and that is the thing I think Jalen Suggs does really well when he's healthy, and that is maybe a conversation worth having because he has not necessarily been able to stay healthy throughout the first 4 years of his career. But also, I do think that you need to be able to have guys that can handle that pressure offensively. Tyrese Halliburton's ascension in this postseason is because of how good of a playmaker he's been. And I'm not saying that they need Jalen Suggs to go out and be Tyrese Halliburton. That's a ridiculous ask to make because that Tyrese Halliburton's that good. But I just don't know that they have the perimeter offensive playmaking for other guys. Like I trust Paolo Banchero, go get his own bucket. I trust Desmond Bane, maybe not to the same extent I trust Banchero, but I trust him to go get his own bucket. But I don't necessarily trust anybody on that team to say, go get a bucket for somebody else. And that is one of the things that I do think that we have seen pretty frequently in these playoffs for the teams that have been successful is that they have guys that can go do that. And as I look at this Orlando roster, I don't necessarily know that I see that. And now looking into the future, the Magic maybe be able to pivot off of this. But now, assuming, and you brought up Paolo Banchero as a potential all-NBA guy, and I think that had he been healthy this year, he certainly would have been in that discussion. I think that he's that caliber of a player. But that also means if he's all-NBA next year, you look at what his contract extension is going to be, he's going to be making $50+ million per year on that next deal. So if that does happen, the Orlando Magic are going to be a second apron team. I don't know how long the Magic are going to have the appetite to be in the second apron financially, but I also know, and I think you know this too, that makes it really difficult to reimagine your team once you are there. That's why we are having conversations about the Boston Celtics potentially trading Drew Holiday, Kristaps Porzingis. It's why there's been conversations about the Cavs maybe potentially trading Darius Garland, because being in the second apron is a really difficult place to be, and the Magic are going to get there. And if they're there without having a really good lead creator, that is where I think things could fall apart for them offensively.
Yeah, I would be curious, Danny. I have some questions for you on the other side in segment 2 here.
Okay, we will get to that because there is so much to get to. Plus, we do, of course, have to actually get to the basketball that's going to be played on Monday, Game 5 between the Pacers and the Thunder. Pivotal game. Every Game 5, 2-2. Always going to be described as pivotal. I'm going to do that as well. We'll get to all that and so much more next right here on Locked On NBA Game Night. Today's show is brought to you by Monarch Money. Do you ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, entertainment, it can be easy to lose track of all that cash. But that's where Monarch Money comes in, because they'll be your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money, it's not just a budgeting app. It is a complete financial command center where you can track all your accounts, investments, spending right in one place. You don't have to juggle apps. You've got it right in one place with Monarch Money. So you can stop managing your money. You can start building your wealth. Instead of juggling multiple apps, like I said, Monarch Money can check your finances, track spending, even plan for some of those long-term goals that I know you have. I know you want to reach. Plus, it's very easy to collaborate with others because managing money with your partner is smoother than ever. Something that can be stressful, very smooth with Monarch Money. You can track shared and personal accounts, set goals, and stay on the same page. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. Again, that's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNBA, LOCKEDONNBA for half off your first year. Thank you again for checking us out at Locked On NBA Game Night. If you're watching on YouTube, do us a favor, hit that thumbs up button for us, click subscribe, and hit that notification bell as the Orlando Magic. They hit a thumbs up on their trade for Desmond Bane and just essentially talked about what I think maybe could go wrong. What questions do you have off of that?
Well, actually, I wanted to also say this too, to your point about the rookie max scale. Right now, it looks like that Paolo Banchero, come this offseason when the negotiation actually opens up legally, he'll be eligible for a $247 million extension over 5 years. That would not kick in until the 2026-27 season. But to your point, that'd be $49.5 million a year, basically. So, yeah, that's a very sizable amount of money. Now, they are going to be able to get rid of a few contracts on their roster that should, according to Bobby Marks, eliminate around $24 million in cap space if they get rid of Mo Wagner, Gary Harris, Corey Joseph, and Caleb Houston. Now, again, that's if they decide to decline the team options on those deals. So they definitely have a lot to think about. Now, let me ask you this. So I understand some of the concerns around the money, but if I look around the league, that in terms of a truly young team outside of OKC, obviously, because that's just like they're an anomaly for several different reasons. Can you make an argument that outside of the Spurs, and maybe even more so, they're more well-equipped to move forward into the future, given that they have nothing but young players who are 5-year 150 in Jalen Suggs, which I think you and I both recognize that he has a lot of value in the league. Obviously, Franz had a 5-year 224 extension. On a lot of teams, he would be your second or first best player, depending on what it was. I think he's a championship level player. Paolo Banchero, obviously, like first or second best player. I think he can grow into a lot of different things. And then now you got Desmond Bane. Like, I would actually say, like, they're probably more well-equipped to handle the next steps of their future, and also, Danny, to be able to make kind of some of the adjustments around their player to situate things going forward. Do you think they're maybe one of the best positioned young teams in the league going for the next several years?
I do. I think that what we call a young team too is kind of like Desmond Bane 26 is young, but I don't know that he's necessarily young in NBA terms. Like, it feels as if he's been around for a long time too.
Yeah.
And I understand that he had some extra time maybe at TCU than a guy like Paolo Banchero did in college. Like, he wasn't a one and done guy, I don't believe. But I do think that what we call young is interesting. And I also think before I'm ready to say that the Magic are going to take the next step, I need to see them have a really good, well put together offense, because this franchise, whether it's been under Steve Clifford or Frank Vogel or Jamal Mosley now, they have been horrible offensively since Dwight Howard left. I don't believe, and I'm sure Philip Rossman-Reich over at Locked On Magic has said more about this. I do not believe they have had a top 20 offense since Dwight Howard left. Like that, they have been anemic on that side of the floor for a long time. And I expect them to be better now, but I kind of need to see that improve and that then translate to the postseason and see some success on that end there before I'm ready to say, yes, they can take the next step. They can be a championship contender. And I would say similar things about the Spurs. Like, I need to see what they look like in those environments. And we've seen the Magic in the last 2 years, I think, play really, really hard in the postseason. They were never going to beat the Boston Celtics this year, and they couldn't beat the Cavs the year before because they've not been good enough offensively. And while Desmond Bane improves that, I don't know that they're
7 games. Respect 7-game series.
Correct. It did, but they lost that game because they couldn't score enough. Like, they had an 18-point lead in game 7 and they forgot how to score the basketball. Like, that is something that you look at and say, for them to be a real contender and do more than get out of the first round, which, you know, if we had to handicap Eastern Conference teams, I think they'd probably be 4th right now going into next year.
Well, no Celtics? You're saying no Tatum, no Celtics?
I would say no Celtics, because it might, I mean, no Tatum for at least most of the year. Probably no Drew Holiday, maybe no Kristaps Porzingis. Like, that team is probably going to be 4, 5, 6. The Bucks, I don't think, are going to be good. I think you have, in terms of just like regular season wins, you're going to have Cavs, you're going to have Pacers, and you're going to have Knicks ahead of the Magic. And if KD gets traded to the Heat will probably jump up above Orlando.
For what? How? Why?
Because it's Kevin Durant. People love it. I would take Orlando over them. I would take Orlando over them.
Five for that Miami Heat team, mind you. So we can just go over this real quick.
It would be
Davion
Mitchell, yes. Bam. Tyler Hero, Kevin Durant, and
Haywood Highsmith.
Maybe.
And then Bam.
I think that Phoenix should get Kel'el Ware if they make this deal. Like, they should not make that deal without getting Kel'el Ware back. If they don't get Kel'el Ware back, that's
probably. But the thing is, if you look at the trade for that, the apparently the Spurs had on the table was Vassell, Barnes, and a first and whatever. Like, honestly, like Wiggins, Jaime Jaquez Jr. and whatever, and some picks. I mean, apparently, like, that's going to be on. For them, I really do. I still, even then, I don't care if they get Kevin Durant out. They're not going to be better than Orlando. Like, I agree.
Yeah. But I think, like, when FanDuel drops their win total over unders, if Kevin Durant is on Miami, I think Miami's going to shoot up because Miami's going to be a sexy team. I would think, I personally am with you. I think Orlando will be better than them if that happens, but I kind of slot them. I would slot Miami below them, but like, I think that is going to be where they would rank when FanDuel drops their win totals. So I don't think that they're near that first tier. Maybe they're near New York, Boston, Indy, Cleveland. Like, they're probably going to be 5 or 6 wins below them, but I think they'll be above the rest of these. Is that championship level? I don't know.
Yeah, I'm actually curious to kind of see how the play style fits together with Orlando, because let's say Desmond Bane, he continues to take these steps, and Jalen Suggs, because he's 23 years old. So, like, I also think the audience needs to realize Bane's 26, Desmond's 23, Franz and Paolo, I don't even think they're 24 years old yet, Danny, if I remember correctly. I think Paolo Banchero is currently 22 years old. And then Franz Wagner, he is 23 years old. So, like, they're so, if I'm an Orlando fan, Danny, forget everything else, I'm excited. I have 4 stars, like legitimately a star in his role, and 3 stars on my team. Now, he might be a lower tier star in Desmond Bane, but I for dang sure got 2 players. Because last year, Danny, before, even I remember after Paolo got hurt, when Franz was healthy before he went down, he looked like he was about to make an all-NBA team with the way he was going. Remember the game winner over the Lakers off the backboard from the top of the key? They got a bunch of guys, and that's, Danny, that's not including. What if Anthony Black takes a real step as a point guard, Danny. Now all of a sudden, Danny, Tristan Da Silva. Now all of a sudden, Danny, now they got Goga. Now all of a sudden, they got the Pacers with a bigger, more physical, better defense. And they got two players that can make an argument that we are both, or one of us is an all-NBA player. Danny, I'm actually super excited about this. We haven't even talked about Memphis. I want to talk about Memphis a little bit too, Danny. I actually think that's like a really, really good situation for Orlando. And if you told me next year, Pacers, like the clear favorite in the next year in the Eastern Conference, because, you know, like I would say Celtics aren't in there. I think Cleveland will be after them. But if you told me Cleveland, the Magic next year or in that next tier, I wouldn't be shocked. I'd legitimately, playoff versatility would not be shocked.
Do you want to, because FanDuel, I noticed FanDuel put this out there. Do you want to guess how those teams rank on FanDuel for their odds to win the finals next year in the Eastern Conference?
Cleveland's first, aren't they?
Cleveland is first at +8. Well, they're first in the East. Oklahoma City, obviously.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, first in the East. Yeah, well, we know what that's about, though. That's regular season net rating crap. Cleveland, Knicks, the Knicks?
The Knicks are 2 at +950.
And then the Pacers.
The Pacers are third at +1200.
And then
so the Knicks are third overall.
Yeah.
The Wolves and Pacers are both +1200, tied for fourth.
Wait a minute. You telling me in the East the Pacers are fourth?
The Pacers are third in the East. Third in the East, tied for fourth overall.
Do you not think that's absolutely bona fidely ridiculous, given that they just smacked both those teams, a combined 8-3 in the playoffs?
I would not pick the Pacers over, or certainly would not pick the Knicks over them. Certainly would not.
I ain't picking Cleveland over them.
If the Cavs are healthy, knowing what we have learned about Darius Garland's foot, I think that leads to a different conversation. But there's not a world in which I'm picking the Knicks over them.
50 in the first half.
What
was that game? They were up 50 in the first half. I'm telling you, if I'm a Pacers fan, I'm up 50.5 on you. I feel mighty confident. Now I'm with the Pacers here. I think that's crazy. Back-to-back Eastern Conference Finals and then the finals, and they might win the title this year, mind you. What if they win and then they win the title? They're going to be the third favorite in the Eastern Conference. I would say this: is it crazy to have after them the Magic?
The Magic are not after them, actually.
The Bucks.
The Bucks are not after them. The Boston Celtics have the fourth best odds in the East at +1400, and then the Orlando Magic are tied with your Denver Nuggets at +1600 to win the finals next year. The Magic have the fifth best odds in the East. I don't necessarily get them being behind Boston. I think that is a very interesting place to be.
Where are the Nuggets in the West?
The Nuggets in the West are behind Oklahoma City, Minnesota, Houston, and the Los Angeles Lakers. So they are fifth.
Oh boy, FanDuel, I'm gonna come see you. all right. Hold on. Next segment, we're dropping over. We're dropping over.
All right. Well, do you want to talk what this looks like for Memphis, or do you want to talk about the NBA Finals?
Memphis, and then a quick preview of the NBA Finals. All
right. We are going to do both next, right here on Locked On NBA Game Night. Well, as you might imagine, today's show is, of course, brought to you by FanDuel. FanDuel is America's #1 sportsbook. The NBA playoffs are in full swing. We've got a huge game tonight, and every night, of course, delivers highlight-worthy performances, major momentum shifts, can't-miss moments, whether it's a game-winning shot like we have seen earlier in this series or a breakout player like maybe one Alex Caruso. There's never been a better time to get in on the action than with FanDuel, because FanDuel makes it easy to stay in the game before tip-off and live as well, with player props, performance trends, same-game parlays, you name it, they've got it all. Fans have more ways than ever to play smart and win big. And if you're new to FanDuel, now is the perfect time to sign up, because you can head to FanDuel.com. That is FanDuel.com today. Place your first $5 bet, and if it wins, you get $200 in bonus bets. That's $200 in bonus bets if that first $5 bet wins. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. Thank you for making this show your first listen today and every day. If you're listening wherever you get your podcast, make sure you subscribe on your podcast platform of choice. We've talked a lot about this Desmond Bane, KCP, Cole Anthony draft pick trade from an Orlando point of view. What do you think about it from a Memphis point of view?
Hey, I like KCP and Cole Anthony. You know, one of the things they struggle with in the playoffs, you know, when Ja Morant went down and, you know, who in the regular season when he goes down, they had Scottie Pippen Jr., who I think had a really good year for what he was asked to do. But you get Cole Anthony, you get another scorer off the bench, another ball handler off the bench, and then you get Kentavious, Caldwell-Pope. So they're going to lack some offensive creativity, which is going to hurt them. But getting another ace defender to slot in next to Ja Morant, I think is really important. But also, you still get to have Ja Morant, KCP, Jalen Wells, JJJ, Zach Edey. You still get to keep a similar formula. Now, I think they're a worse team next year based on where they are now. But we got 5 first-round picks to play with. We got movable contracts to play with. Or a lot of Memphis Grizzlies fans are like, let's get JJJ out of here. So if they want, they could go true star hunting, Danny, and get a real star. I don't know if they would want to do that because, like, what's the upside? Like, I don't know how I quite feel about Ja Morant as a lead point guard in the Western Conference. I think he's really good, but like there are a lot of really good guards in the West. I think Memphis fans have a much higher view of Ja Morant that I learned today than most other people. I asked Memphis fans today, will they trade Ja Morant currently right now for Anthony Edwards or Jason Tatum? And it was an emphatic no, that they would not trade him. In fact, Danny, emphatically no conversation would not trade Ja Morant for Anthony Edwards and Jason Tatum. They have a different view of him, I think, than relative to the rest of the league.
I think, and I know that we at Locked On are going to be doing our like top 100 player rankings later this summer. I think Memphis fans are going to be very disappointed with where Ja Morant comes in. Like, he is not somebody that I view as certainly not as a top 15, probably not as a top 20 player in basketball right now. Like, that's just not who like the idea of Ja Morant is that. The talent of Ja Morant might be that, but who Ja Morant has actually been over the last couple of years is not that.
Look, Memphis, I think they should feel good that they have some direction. They're going to fit the CBA style, 2 very high paid players. You're going to get an extension here for JJJ, I think. They seem to be very open to moving them, at least the fan base does. Again, I don't know how the organization actually feels about him. I think he's one of the elite defenders in the sport, one of the best post scorers in the sport. Still a really good offensive forward. He just is very limited, Danny. And obviously the rebounding, he's a horrible rebounder for a power forward. So that's like one of his biggest criticisms, right? But so I think it's just a matter of like how they want to tool. But Danny, in the Western Conference, Ja Morant and JJJ aren't getting the job done to beat Thunder, Denver, Clippers, maybe even Houston. Like maybe the Lakers, because Lakers are severely flawed. Maybe the Warriors next year, the Rockets are better than them. Like, that's just a lot of teams. The Mavericks are better than them. Maybe next year probably isn't their goal, but this does give them flexibility going forward in the future after that.
All right, so let's talk about Game 5 tonight. We've got series tied at 2 after what was, I thought, an incredibly impressive fourth quarter comeback from OKC in Game 4 on Friday night. What are you looking for in Game 5? Is this the type of thing where normally I would be in this situation where I would wonder whether or not the Pacers could recover from that type of heartbreak, but I just think I've been so impressed with everything I've seen from them this postseason that I don't necessarily worry about that. But I also wonder, I don't know if the Pacers are going to ever have a better chance to just take control of the series the way they could have on Friday.
Yeah, I mean, giving away the lead in that situation is tough. The OKC defense absolutely strapped up. The J-Dub was incredible the whole game. Chet had an amazing game, 14 and 15. Alex Caruso off the bench, first 20-point game off the bench of the season for him. He was amazing. And then Shea, who didn't have a good game, first 3 quarters on either end, ended the game really well, had 15 points in the last 6 minutes of the game, basically. So they got enough to get the job done. But if I'm the Pacers, I mean, they've already gone into OKC and won before. OKC's going to come out with mad energy, but don't get phased. You go into the game, you do your best, you make those shots that you miss, you try to come back with a win and bring it back home up 3-2. But it's more than likely OKC's going to win that game just because home court advantage. You're riding the momentum. You have an opportunity to get a win, to go up 3-2 going into Indiana. My money would be on the OKC Thunder, but my money would have also lost at different times, and the Pacers running. And the Pacers have overcome everything that's been thrown at them so far. I do think Game 5 should be a really good game.
I do too. I hope it's a very good game. I hope that the series goes 7. I hope that, well, I'm with you. I expect the Thunder to win on Monday night. I hope that the Pacers are able to come back on Thursday night and win a game 6 to set up a potential game 7 in Oklahoma City that you and I would get to talk about next Sunday right here on Locked On NBA Game Night. Wouldn't that just be the best?
Facts. Yes. We can close out the season with you and I after a game 7. That'd be great.
I can't think of anything better. And just like I can't think of anything better for you to make your first listen than this show. So thank you for doing that. Wherever you get your podcast, Apple, Spotify, anywhere else, make sure you drop us a 5-star rating, leave us a nice review, and be a friend. Tell a friend about the show. And if you're watching on YouTube as we get out of here, do me a favor, hit that thumbs up button for me, click subscribe, hit that notification bell, and we will be back tomorrow with more Locked On NBA Game Night.